it's your girl Shay here, and I'm back with another video for you guys. And this time I actually put on my Twitter that I was going to be making another top 5 video, but this time I decided to do what's the most iconic anime, and I decided to do a top 5 list. I was going to do a top 10, but after doing a lot of research I realized that doing a top 10 got very complicated. So I'm going to do a top 5, and then from there I might do a part 2 if it's up to you guys regarding if you guys want to see that. Now, the reason why I decided to do iconic animes is because I tried to figure out what animes are the most iconic, and this isn't just because of any animes that are really popular or anything like that. I just wanted to know what animes among our community are most iconic, because of course there are iconic TV shows and movies that many people feel that you need to see, but among anime, which ones are they? So I decided to do some research and figure out which ones they are, but I decided to do it based off of some criteria, not just based off of popularity of an anime, but also based off of any controversies, also its influence on pop culture, on other media, and also among how many people know about this anime besides just anime fans. I also decided to look into if there's any movies made off of this anime, or if it's influenced other movies that we've all grown to know and love. So let's get started on this list. And if you're wondering why I'm looking down, it's because I have my phone right here where I have a lot of notes that I also took down while looking up these different animes and their influence and also how iconic they are. And let's get started on this list. So coming in at number 5, I have the anime Death Note. Now, I know many of you guys are probably like, what made you decide to choose Death Note? And I decided to choose it based off of a few different things. But first, for those of you guys who have never seen Death Note is about a kid by the name of Light Yagami, who pretty much comes across a notebook known as the Death Note, dropped by a Shinigami by the name of Ryuk, who just wants to have some fun. Light ends up finding out that this Death Note lets him write down the names of people, and then they will die by a fatal heart attack in a matter of about 90 seconds. But you can also write down how you choose this person to die. Light decides to use this to basically kill off anyone that's pretty much been bad within Japan. Pretty much anybody that's in jail or corrupted politicians, but Light along the way ends up getting into trouble because of this. And because of him getting into trouble, the police are now after him and he has to find a way to cover up his tracks. Light's a very smart kid, so he's able to elude police among this search, but along the way he also starts to become corrupted with the power that the Death Note actually gives him. So the reason why I chose Death Note for number 5 on this list is because of it being so iconic with the main character, Light Yagami. While Light Yagami is the main character of this list and supposed to be the hero, he's actually a hero that many people love to hate. Many people actually really love the character L within this series, whom is the police officer who's in charge of this special unit, who's after to catch whom is behind these series of attacks. Not only that, but because of the fact that Death Note has such an iconic controversy behind it. Because of Death Note's controversy, which is pretty much because of so many people actually trying to copycat these crimes. So from what I found out, there's been a lot of bans about Death Note. One of the most notorious bans is actually in China, where they actually banned the manga from actually coming there because of so many kids wanting to copycat it. It also reached all the way to Hong Kong, but I believe in Hong Kong they actually have a specifically a different scanlation of Death Note that's a little bit more toned down than what it originally was. Also, of course, we all know that there was also a live action remake made for Death Note that came out on Netflix in 2017, and I actually did a review on this. It wasn't bad, but it also wasn't good either, but regardless, check it out because it's not exactly a bad film. There's also 2 other live actions of Death Note that also was released back in Japan a few years ago, which I also enjoyed those as well. For those of you guys who want to know more about Death Note, you can definitely go on Crunchyroll's website and check out more. There's about 37 episodes, and it actually released back in 2006 to 2007. So it's not an old anime, but it's not a new one either. So check it out if you haven't already. So coming in at number 4, I have the anime Ghost in the Shell. Now, this is actually a movie that came out back in 1995. I can't tell you a whole lot about this movie because it's been a while since I myself have actually watched it, but I did actually enjoy it. I chose this one mostly for the iconicness of Ghost in the Shell, because not only does it have such a high rating on Rotten Tomatoes for Japan, but it's also iconic because it influenced a lot of American filmmakers such as the Wachowski brothers, who actually came out with The Matrix and its sequels after that. It also influenced movies such as The Surrogates, Avatar, and also AI, artificial intelligence. So it's heavily influenced in American media. And not only that, but it also spanned a live action remake that came out also in 2017, starring Scarlett Johansson. But with that live action remake, there also came the iconicness of them talking about why a lot of American, US distributors who are making live action animes decide to choose white actors to play Japanese or Asian characters. And that was also started that huge and big debate that's actually still being talked about. But that's why I still feel like Ghost in the Shell is iconic and on this list, is because of the controversies not controversies, but kind of the talks that it kind of inspired, because this film is so widely known and loved, and also because of the influence it had on American films that many of us know and love. So I have, of course, coming in at number 3, I have the anime Sailor Moon. Now, Sailor Moon is one of my favorite animes. It's one of my first animes I remember watching as a kid back in 1996. And it is widely popular. Pretty much Sailor Moon is about a girl by the name of Usagi Tsukino, also known as Serena in the American version. And pretty much her and her group of friends, whom are named after the different planets, realize that they are princesses of their own planets and they are there to save the Earth from something called the Negaverse. But each season they actually have a different enemy that they have to pretty much defeat. The series actually ran from 1992 to 1997 and also had 3 movies that were released during that time. It's had a wide audience, which is what made it so widely popular, is that it appealed to so many different people. Not only that, but the characters were so different. So of course, many people saw that the characters also looked different. They had a lot of different personalities, and I myself remember as a kid playing pretending we were all the Sailor Scouts, and because of all the different personalities, we all had a different connection to a different Sailor Scout. I know of a lot of people who were very tall among their friends that felt especially connected to the character Lita, also known as Makoto, because she was so much taller than all the other Sailor Scouts, and she kicked some serious butt. But also what makes Sailor Moon so iconic is because of the portrayal of friendships. Now, of course, it's a mostly female cast in the show, and it was actually one of the first animes that kind of was like a combination of shoujo because it had romance in it, but it also was like a Sentai fighter kind of a thing, similar to like Power Rangers. And because it showed a mostly female cast that actually was in a positive light, so many people enjoyed this series. And because of that, there's also, of course, Sailor Moon Crystal that's also now out. And of course, a lot of parents remember this show. I know my mom does because I greatly loved it. So she, of course, kind of watched it with me, and she still knows of this anime to this very day. Plus, so many people still widely know and love it. So that's why this comes in at number 3. Now, of course, among this list, before I get into the number 1 and number 2 spots, I do have to say that this was actually the hardest decision for me to make. This number 1 and number 2 spot was so hard because both these animes, I love them and they're both very, very iconic. But I, of course, had to choose one of them to come in at number 2. So for me, number 2 had to be Dragon Ball Z. And I know many of you guys are like, Dragon Ball Z? Really? Well, the reason why I chose number 2 for Dragon Ball Z is, well, you'll see once I say who's number 1. But like I said before, iconic was based off of a lot of different categories, and the number 1 kind of was a little bit better. But anyway, Dragon Ball Z, of course, follows Goku and the Z Fighters as they try and save Earth from several different enemies. The series started running in Japan back in 1989 through 1996, and it started running in the US from 1996 to 1998, and then ran again in 1998 to 2003 on Toonami, which was on Cartoon Network. Whew, that was a lot. Now, back in 2005, it was said that Dragon Ball Z was the first, way that American animated television actually had the equivalent of a soap opera, which was kind of correct, and this was very new to the Western side of the world, whereas in Japan this actually really wasn't. Dragon Ball Z was actually used in a Ford Fusion and a Ford Focus commercial back in 2015. I actually didn't know this, but that's actually kind of cool when you think about it. Dragon Ball Z also made a lot of money. So it made $3 billion in sales from 1996 to 2000, and in 2012 it was actually said that it made $5 billion in merchandise. Dragon Ball Z was iconic because of the fact that it's had such a longevity among the anime community. So not only do you have Dragon Ball, you have Dragon Ball Z, you have Dragon Ball Z GT, you have Dragon Ball Z Kai, and now you have Dragon Ball Z Super. So many people have watched all these different series and have watched a lot of their characters grow up. I mean, we've seen Gohan start as a little kid and become an adult with his own wife and child, and you also saw Goku start out as a little boy and also become back a little boy again if you watch Dragon Ball Z GT. It's all the main transformations they went through as Super Saiyans, and of course there's several different Dragon Ball Z spin-offs and Dragon Ball Z movies that we have all grown up with and have loved. And of course, who can forget the many different Dragon Ball Z video games that have released. So that's what made Dragon Ball Z super duper iconic, and plus the people that has played these voice actors, the voice actors that have voiced these characters have also become iconic in their own right. I mean, who else remembers, or who else always remembers Chris Sabat as playing Vegeta and playing Piccolo and every other character in Dragon Ball Z when it first released? I know I definitely do, and that's what makes this so iconic. But before I get into number one, I of course have to do a couple of honorable mentions, and that's because these shows, while they didn't make it onto this list, they might make it onto another list, and mostly it's because there's just too many animes that are iconic in their own right that I just couldn't figure out where to put them on this list. Otherwise, this list would be more than just 5. It would be like 100, if not more. Alright, so as far as these honorable mentions are concerned, I have a few of them. One of them actually being Cowboy Bebop. Another one being Blue Gender, and also Akira. Akira was definitely a big one on this list. I know I really want to put it in there somewhere because so many people know of the movie Akira, and it's so iconic that everyone's like, you have to have seen Akira. And the same goes for Cowboy Bebop, because I hear a lot about the music being so great. I actually have not watched Cowboy Bebop, so I still actually have to watch that anime, but it's on my to-do list. But after that, let's get into number one. So if you haven't guessed already what number one actually is, and if you haven't already been disappointed because Dragon Ball Z wasn't number one, well, be sure to be even more disappointed. Because number one is actually going to be the anime Pokemon. So Pokemon first came out in 1997 and is still running to this very day. So a lot of us who as kids started watching this are now adults, and now some of our kids, I don't have any children, but there's kids who are now watching this who are actually one of the kids that started watching it back in the 90s, which is crazy to think about. Of course, Pokemon has spanned several video games from Pokemon Blue all the way up to now to Pokemon Sun and Moon, and of course, who can forget the mobile game Pokemon Go and the new Pokemon game that's coming out later on this year, which is Let's Go Pikachu and Let's Go Eevee. I am so excited for that game, you just don't even know. So of course, Pokemon is about a character by the name of Ash Ketchum who starts out on his Pokemon journey with his Pokemon Pikachu. And along the way, they make several different friends, they fight different characters, and he catches a lot of other Pokemon. So Pokemon, of course, has its own set of iconicness and its own set of controversies. One of their controversies also being that some of their episodes have gotten cut short or have never been released in the States. One of them, the one that's most known, is the Porygon episode, in which a lot of kids in Japan actually had epileptic seizures and had to go to the hospital, and that episode has never aired in the US, although you can watch it online, but please do so at your own risk. I myself have not seen it for fear of an epileptic seizure. Also, there's of course an episode where James cross-dresses as a woman and has on a bikini, and that episode was also cut super weird so that kids, I don't know, who knows what they do nowadays. But anyway, you of course also have the Safari Zone episode, which was also cut because Ash gets a gun pointed at his face. And you also have a few other episodes that were actually never seen in the US due to them being cut for several different reasons. You also have the iconic character that is Pikachu. Who can forget that Pikachu had not just one, but two balloons in the Macy's Thanksgiving Day Parade. And of course, there have been a lot of parodies of Pokemon in even regular media. So you of course have South Park and The Simpsons that have both done parodies of Pokemon. You have several different Pokemon movies that came out into theaters, such as Pokemon the first movie, Pokemon movie 2000, and of course you have Pokemon 3, which is I think is the one with the Unknown and Entei. And of course you have all the other Pokemon movies that have came out while not in theaters. They have came straight to video. They are still super duper iconic and they're still really interesting to watch. But that is why Pokemon is number one. It's still relevant to this day. There's still tons of merchandise that you can buy for Pokemon, and there's still tons of people who are in their 20s to their 30s now who still enjoy playing the Pokemon game. So it has had such a long longevity, which is strange considering the fact that the makers of Pokemon actually wanted to stop making it in 1998, but after seeing that the release of the video games being so successful, they've continued on with the series. I mean, why not? Pokemon has been a cash cow for these guys for years, just like how Dragon Ball Z has been, which was in the number 2 spot. But like I said, the reason why Pokemon overtook Dragon Ball Z to become number 1 is because of the longevity that this show has. It's still coming out to this day, still has the original formula, and plus it's so widely known among adults. I mean, if you ask adults to name an anime that they know about, usually they're gonna name Pokemon either because they've seen it, because they've seen it in stores, or even just because of the fact their kids watch it. And plus, of course, if you ask them what Pokemon do they know of the most, they're almost always gonna say Pikachu regardless. Every Pokemon is Pikachu. It could be a Pokemon that looks nothing like Pikachu, but they know the name Pikachu. And that is why Pokemon is number 1. But that is my top 5 of the most iconic animes. I will probably do a part 2 of this if you guys like. Comment down below. Let me know if you guys would like for me to do a part 2. I know several of you guys enjoy things like One Piece, Fairy Tail, Bleach, Naruto. I know these are not on the list, but the reason why is because, like I said, I was looking for a lot of different criteria for iconic animes, not just ones that were just super popular. Because if it was popularity, My Hero Academia would have been on this list too. But anyway, you guys, that's my video. Comment down below. Let me know what you think. I definitely want to know if you guys enjoyed this list, if you want me to do more. Like always, I will leave links down below to my social media accounts, my Instagram, my Twitter, and my blog as well. And of course, like always, you guys, give this video a thumbs up. Subscribe if you haven't already. Click the bell icon so that you're notified when my new videos are released, which are every Monday, Wednesday, and Saturday. And like always, you guys, please stay nerdy. All right, you guys. Bye.